Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys of girls, wow.
Wow.
Boys and girls, children of all ages, and welcome back to the Great Movie Rad Podcast. I'm your host, Gaston, joined in-house today by...
Uh, Jerryofdom.
He wasn't sure, folks, but he's here beside me instead of over Discord this time. And today, the Jurassic period comes to an end,
Wow.
as we review Part 6, Jurassic World Dominion. Ba-da-da-da-da.
Is that even in the movie?
Briefly.
Oh.
Not enough to get in my good books, though. We're coming off of the travesty that was Fallen Kingdom. Is Dominion more like Jurassic World or Fallen Kingdom? Stay tuned to find out. Let's start with our previewing thoughts. What you got?
I was, I watched the trailer. I saw a scooter guy get eaten by a dinosaur, and I was excited. But at the same time, after watching Fallen Kingdom, I was like, Then we found out it was a different director. And I was like, alright.
Well, the same one as Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Which is
But
better
as long as
than...
it's not Fallen Kingdom's director, I'm happy. And so it was a mixed thought process towards it.
Same for me. Despite what happened with Fallen Kingdom and my opinion of it, I was excited to see this film. The return of the OG trio, definite highlight for me. I was concerned about dinosaurs not feeling like dinosaurs, which was getting more and more prevalent in these films. Not so much in Jurassic World, but Jurassic Park 3 and Fallen Kingdom. And the balance that has to be required therein. Because you can do dinosaur jump scares easily. Look at Jurassic Park. But you can also make them feel like they're literally waiting for the plot to dictate them do something. And it's like, these are animals. But at the end of the day, I was still excited to see it. We move to our light spoilers plot sum up, and I took a stab with this one. As the world deals with dinosaurs living among them, a plague of super locusts devour farmlands, which links to InGen's rival corporation, Biosyn. Meanwhile, Owen and Claire are drawn in when Maisie is taken. Plot sum up.
Thanks for eating.
Let's talk about our character review, starting with Owen Grady, who's portrayed by Chris Pratt. I think you've started with Owen every time, so why don't you fire off again?
I like him still. He's still good in this movie. Still enjoy him. Good adoptive father.
I forgot to do my little character briefing. Yeah.
I
He's still an ethologist and a Navy vet, and still the former Jurassic World employee who's responsible for training velociraptors. He is Claire's boyfriend and Maisie's adoptive father. Owen is back, and he is still Owen. He once again has no character arc, but he's still enjoyable and epic.
I don't know how he never had a even in this movie.
He never had a character arc.
Never.
Yeah, they just
I don't
didn't
know if
give
it's
him
a
one.
bad or a good thing. He's still
The
fun.
fact that he's still enjoyable means that he could have been so much better if they gave him one. So it does come off as a bit of a missed opportunity because it's confirmed that he is not returning. If they do another film, he's not in it. Of course, money can change everything, but as of right now, he has said that he is not returning.
Isn't this the last one?
They're talking about the future of it, but both Owen Grady, Chris Pratt, and Bryce Dallas Howard said they wouldn't return. And Sam Neill said that it's the last one for Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and himself as well. So if it does go forward, it won't be with these characters.
I don't know how I feel about.
I'll get into that later, how I feel about that.
It's still good.
He's still Owen Grady,
still a great
which
guy.
is still Chris Pratt,
cabin.
essentially.
He finished his.
He
cabin.
did do that. One thing I was worried about at the start of the film, it kind of looked like they were doing they broke up again. And it's like, if they do that again, they broke up and they're getting back together, I would have been so mad. But no, that's not the
And
case.
then there's a, we're good.
Mm-hmm. I legit would have been mad.
I
So now let's talk about Claire Deering, who's portrayed once again by Bryce Dallas Howard, the former Jurassic World park manager and founder of the Dinosaur Protection Group. She is Owen's girlfriend and Maisie's adoptive mother. Claire's arc, on the other hand, continues its progression in many satisfying ways. She has a lot less to do in this one, but I think that's just because of the cast size. She is still a great part of the film for me, and like my second favorite character in the film. I love Claire. She's great.
She's still hot. She's still good in this movie, and it's interesting to see because her character arc definitely you could see it wrap up in this.
It does come to a conclusion.
It
yes.
wasn't like something that was left a little bit out there. Yeah, I was happy with the way they did her character, and it was a good time.
Yeah. So now let's talk about one of the OGs, Dr. Ellie Saller, who's portrayed by Laura Dern, making her first appearance in the franchise since Jurassic Park 3. A paleobotanist and one of the consultants who traveled to John Hammond's original Jurassic Park. You're up.
She was a nice surprise. Well, it wasn't a surprise, but I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. After last time, what was the last movie I saw? Last Jedi.
Yep.
I don't
Vice Admiral Holdo.
I don't have good opinions on Last Jedi at all.
But it's not like she was bad in it.
No. But seeing her, sorry, one that I hate, great. She's great in this movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her character, and I'm glad with the way they took her character.
Yeah, Ellie is back, and she is as good as she was in the first one. Just an interesting note, this movie focuses on her more than the other OGs, which gives each one their own film, which is good. The first one is Grant, the second one is Malcolm, this one is Sattler.
What was the third one, then?
Grant again.
Yeah, technically, it's all three of them in the first one.
I would say it's more Grant's film. Ellie gets... So, Malcolm gets, like, taken out for half the film.
Yeah.
And Ellie doesn't go with the main group, so she's away for most of the action till the end. I like how that balances it out, kind of, that they all have a focus. And, like, Owen's the focus of Jurassic World, and Claire's the focus of Fallen Kingdom.
Men being the focus of Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, poor Claire. So now let's talk about Dr. Ian Malcolm, who's portrayed once again by Jeff Goldblum, who has appeared in more movies in this franchise than anybody else.
Yeah.
He is a mathematician in chaos theory and former consultant for Jurassic Park, as well as a key figure involved in the San Diego incident depicted in Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World.
Yeah.
I don't know why my note says that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Malcolm is on point in this film. To me, this is like the perfect Malcolm. He feels like a meld of his JP1 and Lost World characterizations, and I love it. I really liked him.
I really enjoyed how they made Dr. Malcolm and Laura together in this movie. It made it such an interesting little thing, and watching Grant's little reactions, I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah. This is
And he was great. He was great.
So now let's talk about Dr. Alan Grant, portrayed by Sam Neill, a paleontologist who was consulted for Jurassic Park and is a survivor of the Isla Sorna expedition depicted in Jurassic Park 3. You're up.
Again, Alan Grant can never get enough of him. Every movie he's in, he's great. And again, this movie, he's pretty great. I enjoyed how they took his character arc as well.
Yeah. Grant is back, and he's got a beard now, like Michael Crichton, the original author of Jurassic Park, intended. So, and he continues to be one of the greatest protagonists in cinema history. He is my favorite character in the film, probably third favorite character in the whole franchise after Muldoon and Tembo. Like, Grant's great. Great. So now let's talk about Kayla Watts, who's one of our new cast members, of which there aren't many, who's portrayed by DeWanda Wise, a former Air Force pilot who aids Owen and Claire on their mission. So, like I mentioned, she's one of our only new heroes in this film, and unlike the new characters from Fallen Kingdom, I think she works really well in this story. She doesn't take away from the other characters who we're here to see, but she also earns her slot to be around these titans of this franchise. It's like, without her, the plot actually wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can have a hard time balancing when you're throwing all these characters in, that some characters don't matter.
Yeah.
One of my only complaints about Avengers Endgame is a lot of the heroes don't need to be there for the plot to happen.
I'm glad with the way they took her character. She was interesting, good pilot. And at first, you aren't sure how to react with her, but then as you learn more about her, you understand her reasonings why she did things. And I was thoroughly happy about how they took her, and I'm glad she actually had a character arc.
So now we talk about Ramsay Cole, who's portrayed by Mahmoudou Athi, who's head of communications of Biosin.
I love this guy.
Yeah, you're up.
He was.
Oh, just it's hard to talk about without getting into spoilers, so don't mention the twist.
He was really fun.
He was, yeah.
He was a nice guy.
Mhm.
He. I love the awkwardness when he gets first introduced and he's like meeting him and he's interacting with people and he's kind of just like, what am I doing here? This guy's an idiot.
Uh-huh. But it's hard to talk without getting into spoilers, but I did find him very interesting. There's a couple things that I wish were handled better with him, but I can't talk about that until the heavy spoilers, so stay tuned for that.
Favorite new character.
Yes, I think I would agree with that. Just slightly above Kayla. Now let's talk about Maisie Lockwood, who's once again portrayed by Isabella Sermon. A clone of Benjamin Lockwood's daughter. If that's a spoiler for you, go watch our Fallen Kingdom podcast, please. It didn't do too well. That he raised as his granddaughter. While she is... Sorry, this is my... Not a character, this is my point of view. While she is better in this one than she was in the last, she still feels unnecessary to me. She was only added into the plot to make Fallen Kingdom matter again. And to get the kid character, and she still makes dumb decisions, not as bad as the one she made in Fallen Kingdom, but they're not good decisions. As I will explain later, the plot could have happened without her entirely. I'll explain that later, though.
I actually enjoyed her in this movie.
Shame.
I know. But she wasn't as bad, and I enjoyed the trio she gets put into in the movie. That I think it was an interesting thing that they did. And I don't think I can agree with you being terrible or being bad.
Yeah, you're welcome to your opinion, even if it's wrong.
What?
So let's talk about Dr. Lewis Dodgson. Dodgson, we got Dodgson here. So fun story. I went to see this in the drive-in. I went dressed as Dennis Nedry, just to make the joke that when he comes on screen to look at my part and go, Dodgson, we got Dodgson here. See, nobody cares, and nobody got it. I was so upset.
It made it better.
That's true, actually.
It makes it so much better.
That's true. That's true.
See, nobody cares.
Yeah. So he is the CEO of Biosyn Genetics, a rival company of InGen. Campbell Scott replaces Cameron Thor from Jurassic Park because that Cameron Thor is a convicted sex offender of children.
Man.
Yeah. So we're not talking about him.
No.
We're talking about Campbell Scott. And it's your lead.
Yeah. He was not what I was expecting in this film.
No, very much not.
He
seems to be quite different than the character we briefly saw in Jurassic Park.
Like, he feels like he's got a lot of screws loose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me running on caffeine.
Mm.
So I think that made it more interesting of a character, and I think a lot of people actually took notice of him because he was
off.
He, like, every time he was on screen, everything, it was uncomfortable.
Mm. Yeah, I was
torn. Not in a bad way.
Yeah, I was torn, honestly, between whether this performance was brilliant or terrible. I couldn't really decide, and I have decided that it's brilliant. So Scott expertly portrays this man-child fool that is our human villain in this film. He doesn't have much depth to him, but he is a solid villain. And when you see the film, you'll see why I was torn between, was it a brilliant portrayal or a terrible one? And at the end of the day, the only reason why I thought it was terrible is some of the acting was weird, but I'm positive that was the point.
Yeah.
And I think it was perfectly done. He doesn't detract from any scene he's in, by any means. So I have decided it is brilliant.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dr. Henry Wu, who's portrayed by B.D. Wong, the lead geneticist behind the dinosaur cloning programs at Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And Wu's arc has come full circle, and I do have some complaints about it, not spoiling what it is. However, the performance is strong. I do believe there are some wasted opportunities with the characters, but no major problems with him.
I didn't know how to react to his character in this movie. It's a lot different than usual.
Yes.
It was an interesting way to portray. Portray.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like his character. Dr. Wu's always someone that I've enjoyed.
I hope that they use Camp Cretaceous to explain some things.
Camp Cretaceous is doing a great job with side characters and stuff,
Mhm.
expanding more. Maybe because the way the timeline they're working on, it's a bit weird, so they need to do a time jump in it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then they could touch on things in the middle. Because no one cares about Fallen Kingdom. give us side stuff for
Yeah.
minions.
So now let's talk about Barry Simbani. He now has a last name. Who's portrayed by Omar Sy from Jurassic World. He's an animal trainer who worked with Owen at Jurassic World, and you get to go first.
Again, what a great side.
What
character.
a guy!
He's still a great guy.
He is.
Again, always getting chased down.
I can't talk about it yet, but in that scene, I was like,
It's like, no.
Yeah, I know. Stay tuned for heavy spoilers, folks. It's a doozy. Yeah, Barry's back, and as good as he was in Jurassic World.
I was not expecting to see him back.
I knew he was back. He was on the
didn't.
cast list.
I didn't know.
I was happy. He's a supporting character who I quite liked then. I still like him now. Barry's a good guy. So now let's talk about a duo. For our first time, we're doing 2 in 1 here. Franklin Webb is played by Justice Smith once again from Fallen Kingdom, and Dr. Zia Rodriguez, Daniela Pineda, also Fallen Kingdom. Franklin Webb is a former Jurassic World technician and dinosaur rights activist, and Zia Rodriguez is a paleo veterinarian and dinosaur rights activist. These two are back from Fallen Kingdom and are not in it much at all.
No.
Thank you.
Well,
Webb is more mature in this one, and Webb I didn't have huge problems with in the last one. Zia is still a miss for me. I'm happy they weren't dragged along for the plot. There were enough characters, and I didn't need to see more of them.
Craig Webb. He was funny.
I didn't need to see more of them.
Oh. See, I get. But I always like some more Webb.
You do like Webb. So, with all of our characters being said, let's transition to the effects and cinematography. The effects were pretty good in this one, I felt. I think this was more akin to Jurassic World than Fallen Kingdom, as far as the effects go. And it works out pretty well. Now, I don't have a specific complaint about any effect in the film, but I did see it in a drive-in where it's a lot harder to notice issues.
Yeah.
So if you notice something, by all means.
I didn't particularly notice anything that looked like the CGI.
It was
and
pretty
everything.
top-notch.
And they even used animatronics.
There was more animatronics in this one than in World or Fallen Kingdom.
Because I could tell when they used animatronics, but I was like, I wasn't complaining about that. I was like, this is good to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because it brings you back to the old. The
just
animatronic could have been a little bit better.
But
But they were still really good.
It's like what we said before. Animatronics are better. Practical is better than special every time.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can do a practical effect, do a practical
I
effect.
much rather have practical.
That's what makes like the original Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park so good, is that reliance on the practical.
Even like the first Michael Bay film was a lot of practical effects.
The first Michael Bay film.
Of Transformers.
There's not many practical effects in
Well, the
there.
explosion and everything.
Well, explosions are, but none of the
You know
Transformers
how
are
many
practical.
CGI explosions there are now?
Oh, I'm sure there's tons. Michael Bay, it's in his contract. He has to be able to blow things up.
The effects were pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. The cinematography was great in this one, with so many lovely shots.
There's a few nostalgia-based shots.
Primary of which for me is Rexy doing the logo pose near the end. Also, the framing of every scene with the Theriznosaur was excellent tension building. That is how you shoot a
This
tense
movie
scene.
was actually this was the scariest one for me.
Of all, or just of Jurassic
Of
World?
all. This one actually like spooked me.
I don't know if I would say it's the scariest of all, but
For me,
it's nice that Jurassic World is scary again. 'Cause
felt
it
like
should
a
be.
scary thing. Like this dinosaur is what caused a lot of my oh
The
boy.
Theriznosaur?
Yeah,
The Theriznosaur was dope as heck.
It's like-
More on him later.
and also like with the chase scene in the city.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
Dimetrodon in the cave. That one made possibly me shriek and try and go backwards in his van chair.
Did you hear Alan Grant scream?
No, I was too busy listening to possibly me scream.
So when you watch it, and when he pops up, you hear him go. like I feel like they didn't tell him there was anything there and made it jump out because he legitimately you watch him go. And I think that was like an actual thing, and they didn't do another shot of it.
Like that Bigfoot.
Yeah, because he legitimately just was like he's climbing up and then he just like it looked like terror straight shot into his face, and I'm like, and all the screams you hear is Alan.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I did notice that.
I'm like, you'd think it's Maisie, but Alan's like screaming like a little girl.
So let's transition to our writing and score. The writing is alright. There's some super heavy exposition dumps which are a bit of a slog to get through, specifically at the start of this film.
Oh yeah.
And some of the dialogue is odd, mostly Dodgson, but some is odd. But it is not bad. No. There is something I need to say with something that was written with Ramsay, but that has to wait till spoilers. But the original trio are very well written, and the writing still lets Owen down by not giving him an arc, but he's still fun.
Oh. I enjoyed the writing and how they, there is still an end to Owen's story related to the whole Blue situation, and I still like that. I know you don't like the humanizing velociraptors and all that. But
actually, I think what they did with Blue in this one was fine. I was worried they would go too far.
I really enjoyed what they did with this one. And like the end part where it's like, oh, red dog.
It's the fact of a certain event that we'll talk about later that really helped for me.
Yeah.
The score is nothing special. It's the same as the other Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic Park 3. The score was only good when they were doing callbacks to John Williams' score. There's some decent beats, but the best moments were actually the moments without score. The best scenes were the ones without score at all.
Silent.
So it is.
That's the tone.
Yeah, so it's rather hit or miss for me, the score.
I didn't have too much of an opinion on the score. I don't know. It wasn't one that.
It's not John Williams.
There's something about certain movies, like, again, Dune.
Denis
That
Villeneuve's
still
Dune.
stands out for me first.
Yeah, that was Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
This was Michael Giacchino, who's not bad with score, just this one was rather hit or miss.
Hans Zimmer's like one of my favorites. I think I like him more than John Williams. John Williams does great, memorable things, but just...
I think you're wrong, and I think most of the world will agree with me.
Yeah.
I think Hans Zimmer is the heir apparent to John Williams' throne. But John Williams did all of Star Wars, all of Raiders.
What I mean...
all of Back to the Future, Superman, Jaws. Hans Zimmer is great, and he's the new John Williams, but...
He's the tone setter that I really like. And John Williams made the themes that I really love.
I will always disagree that anyone's as good at movie score as John Williams.
I'm not saying...
Hans Zimmer, I think, is second, but John Williams, what he's done, redefining what movie music can be.
Yeah.
Home Alone, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Kenobi.
you bring up a good point.
Even the new Kenobi theme is him, and it's got that swelling nature.
I didn't know he did Kenobi.
He's the best. I mean, like, there was an interview. This is gonna be like 2 minutes of John Williams fanboying from Gaston. There was an interview on the writing of the score for Force Awakens, where J.J. Abrams was walking on set and John Williams called him over. And he's like, so what were you thinking for Force Awakens? And J.J. Abrams, was taken aback and you're John Williams. Anything you come up with is better than what I could say. And I mean, John Williams pumps out the, most iconic villain scores with Imperial March, the Jaws theme, these iconic things. And then a lot of people sleep on it, but then Kylo Ren's theme is also him, which is also an incredible theme. The bum, 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 bum. It's a great theme. I love it. Anyway. Warning! Warning! Heavy spoilers ahead.
Warning.
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 Warning. There's the tsunami warning.
Oh no. We're in a basement.
There's no ocean.
There's a lake.
How's there gonna be a tsunami from a lake?
Don't worry about it. Godzilla.
Godzilla's here?
So heavy spoilers. This is so I got the order mostly wrong.
Oh.
I have it grouped together by plot point at the moment. I was on vacation as I was writing this script. So here we go. 4 years after the volcanic destruction of these are still stupid, and the Lockwood Estate incident, still stupid. De-extinct dinosaurs freely roam among humans, still stupid. Claire Deering, former operations manager of Jurassic World, works to protect dinosaurs from illegal breeding organizations. So there's a scene with Franklin Webb and Zia Rodriguez. It's the only time Zia Rodriguez is in the film where they steal a baby trike because of illegal breeding. And
Chasing was. I think it was a nice tie-in that she was the driver, and when you think back to Jurassic World,
true,
when she was usually driving, and I thought I was like, it's a very subtle thing that they might not even, but I was like,
it makes sense. She and Owen Grady have been living in a remote mountain cabin at Sierra Nevada where they secretly care for Maisie Lockwood, Sir Benjamin Lockwood, the wasted James Cromwell, clone granddaughter. I'm using this review to insult Fallen Kingdom.
I would love to live in a winter cabin in Nevada with Chris Pratt. Sure, it'd be a great thing.
I'd love to live in a cabin in northern Nevada with Bryce Dallas Howard.
That might be a better option. I hope they never listen to this.
Why would they?
Who knows?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Bryce. Love you guys. If you ever see it. They are astonished when Owen's trained Velociraptor Blue unexpectedly arrives at the cabin with an offspring.
What's the baby doing?
Maisie will dub that baby Beta.
And wasn't one of the other raptors named Beta?
Yeah.
You can't steal a dead raptor's name.
She did. And you defended her.
Alright.
And she does establish a bit of a bond with Beta as well. So in this like frame of time, this little period in the cabin,
she sneaks out.
She sneaks out to the city. There's a cool scene with the Apatosaurus at the logging company. I thought that was pretty cool and very well animated, very good effect. Definitely wasn't a practical effect, but I thought it was very well done. I love looking at the scale. And there was Owen going for a parasaur, which was a completely unnecessary scene.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
You know what?
It also is kind of a dumb scene, but it's fine.
You know what? Because was it this part, or is it a little bit more when they introduced the old people?
It's after a little bit. So, meanwhile, and I do believe the film actually starts with Dodgson. It's like right at the beginning, before Claire and them, because there's a news report.
Yeah.
That's super exposition heavy.
Yeah.
That I didn't get to listen to very much because technical difficulties at the drive-in, which is why
they talk about everything, and they talk about
they establish the world
how
balance.
Biosyn is like the lead thing
for rounding up the dinosaurs. So, unknown to Owen and Claire, Biosyn, the engineering corporation led by Lewis Dodgson, Jurassic Park 1 fame, has targeted Maisie for a big
Do you know why?
hula. I do know why.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it yet.
Money.
No, the reward for getting her is a big moolah.
Oh yeah, but they're the ones paying people.
I know.
Guess we gotta steal some kids. Maybe we'll get some money. No, we're not doing it.
For legal reasons, this is a joke.
For legal reasons,
this is a joke.
It's a joke.
When Maisie is frustrated with living in seclusion, she sneaks away to a nearby town where, as I mentioned, that stupid parasaur wrangling scene, some of Dodgson's operatives follow Owen back to the cabin and kidnap her and nab Beta as well, which freaks out Blue and has Blue go and challenge her alpha. And I actually really like this scene because as I've said many times, I don't like them humanize the dinosaurs, but the fact that Blue attacked Owen and hurt him.
Did he?
Yeah, Owen's head is in a bandage for the rest of the film.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
To me, that's huge. And that's an animal. Because, like, I get the alpha relationship. I don't have a problem with that. Fallen Kingdom took it too far. Dominion reeled it back. I especially love, like, Owen's dialogue. She won't hurt us, right? Oh, yes, she will. I like that a lot. I really do.
It was an interesting transition that I enjoyed.
Almost forgot to mention Claire trying her best to be a good mom to Maisie, which is like the continuation of her arc from Jurassic World. She thinks she'd be a terrible mother, and it turns out she's pretty much the best mother you could have. It's just the kid was a jerk.
Well, I think the interesting thing with the kid is that teenage phase.
Absolutely. 14.
She's actually 16 in real life, so I was surprised.
Character was 14, though.
Age of her gun. Boom.
Age of her gun.
But she was a bit of a tool, but it's...
Hey, you defended her.
Yes, but it's understandable from the stance she's coming from. She's been locked in a household at night. Now she's moved somewhere new, and she's locked in a house again.
So Owen and Claire set off to rescue the pair, with Owen promising to bring back Beta. Elsewhere, an extinct species of giant locust. This definitely has happened before the kidnapping.
Yeah.
By the way, like, definitely
it
has.
did.
Yeah. Elsewhere, an extinct species of giant locust has reappeared and is threatening the world's food supply. Paleobotanist Ellie Saller has noticed how the locusts avoid biosin-produced crops. I wonder why.
Interesting.
That can't be a correlation. How she's the only person who noticed boggles my mind.
So, we're looking at these crops. Yeah, which ones are bio?
What do you know?
Interesting. Must be.
Paleobotanist Ellie Saller has noticed how the locusts avoid the biosin crops, which leads her to suspect that biosin created the locusts. Ellie, who is now divorced from Mark,
Yes.
approaches paleontologist and former romantic partner Dr. Alan Grant, who agrees to help biosin operation cease, because I read my script in the wrong order, to stop biosin's operation. Opposition. This is going fantastically.
That's understandable how it's going.
Plot is a little jumbled, but the points are all here. So
I like the tie-ins for when they're meeting up, because I think
so many callbacks.
I think the funniest thing is when Alan is like, you first see him, he walks and he's talking, like giving a presentation to people. They're sitting on their phones.
Yeah.
It's like, he hates this.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do this anymore. And again, there's not enough money for the day. You have tourists.
Yeah, no funding.
He's like, I hate this.
I like the Dr. Grant, you've got to come see this. That has been said to Alan Grant like 7 times now. Just exactly, Dr. Grant, you better come see this. That started way back at the beginning of Jurassic Park 1, all the way through to the Kirbys multiple times in Jurassic Park 3. That has been said to him like 7 times now. And I think that was just perfect. A nice callback.
You must now know every time that said something's gonna happen.
Something bad's happening. And he's still head over heels for Ellie, and it was so sweet.
A good time.
Yeah, it was so sweet.
Oh, you guys are divorced. Oh.
I'm sorry.
What a
shame. So, chaos theorist Ian Malcolm has sent Ellie the information to get them into biosin. More on him in a little bit. Owen and Claire, meanwhile, track Beta and Maisie to Malta, where they infiltrate a black market trafficking dinosaurs, which is a thing.
I mean, that makes good money.
I'm sure it is. Not the biggest fan of this scene. I just wasn't crazy about what I was seeing in it.
I don't know, seeing that guy get his head chopped off with the 2 other dinosaurs chewing on his hands.
Delacourt. I've got an interesting point to make, but I'll wait till later to make it. That the creators of Jurassic World agree with me about Fallen Kingdom, and I'll prove it. And I'm going to prove it. Just hold on, folks. So, as they disrupt this to find the lead to where Maisie is, dinosaurs are set free, and a biosin operative named Senatos unleashes the Atrociraptors, who are the improved version of the Indoraptor.
Is this the woman?
The woman.
She felt so wasted. Or not wasted.
She didn't matter.
I don't know why she was there.
Just to give them a target.
Have we mentioned the pilot yet?
No. I guess Claire did meet Kayla before the Atrociraptors
and these
are freed.
Characters are introduced before Owen and...
Yes, Senatos and Kayla are. Kayla picks up Maisie and flies her to...
No, she doesn't fly her, right?
Yeah, she delivered her.
She was on a private jet. She delivered the baby.
Oh, that's what it was. Drive-in. Not my preferred way to watch a new release. Like, it's a fun experience, don't get me wrong.
I've never done a drive-in.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience. I just much prefer the cinema.
Yeah.
You've
You have to
never
have the
done
windows down?
it? You don't have to, but if your party is sitting outside, you do. So they can hear the movie. It plays through the radio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's super cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. Possibly me and I went last year to see Black Widow and Cruella doubleheader. So we saw that with the windows up.
I didn't know that it was...
Yeah, they hijack an FM station.
Dang.
Yeah. Ours was 90.5.
I guess you should live near one.
And just hack in. It's not even really hack in. You just like look at what it is, and because they announce it, and you just, oh, there we go.
Just, I'm going on a nice little walk.
Just listen to the movie.
Imagine if you lived across the road from one.
Free movies. Also, just on a side note, this was the biggest drive-in theater I've ever seen. We're talking, most have 2 screens and like 8 to 10 rows. This was 3 screens of 14 rows. And these rows, like, even at the Mustang near here, the rows are huge.
Yeah.
And these are, like, huge. This was a Toronto drive-in. So, where did we go off the rails? Atrociraptors! That was like, Atrociraptors. So, the Atrociraptors are released, and cue high-octane...
We also never explained that Webb got in the CIA, which led us to this city.
Because frick that guy. He's not that bad,
and
no.
which led us to
That's how they
this
found
city, where they find
Barry Simbani, yes.
So, and then they break into the black market because it's reported that Maisie might be there.
Yeah.
And then she went. And
Yeah.
then these raptors come out.
Yes, and they target Barry and the other
They're like
operatives.
Indoraptors.
Yes, I did mention that. They're the improved version of the Indoraptor. They're real dinosaurs, by the way, Atrociraptors. Yes. But they were added that obedience to that laser targeting in their genetic code instead of just being taught it.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. That's the difference.
That was a good idea.
Yeah. So, they target the intelligence agents as well as Claire, and the Atrociraptors go later.
Claire was also late.
I guess.
Because it's them, and then Claire shows up, and then she... Bam!
Mm.
And then Claire goes...
Yeah. And then the Atrociraptors, you have this chase scene throughout the city. Super intense. Kayla, who watched Maisie getting kidnapped, essentially, decides to help Claire find her daughter and gets Claire out of the city. This is a high-octane chase scene that words can't do justice. It is incredible.
So watch.
Yeah. And Owen manages to get out. How they managed to... This is one problem I have with... One of a few that I have with that dinosaur trafficking is how did they manage to smuggle that Allosaur and Carnotaur in? Smaller dinosaurs, sure, but those are full-blown.
What about the T-Rex?
T-Rex wasn't there.
He was smuggled.
To Biosin. Yeah, that's easy.
On a crappy plane.
They never said how Rex arrived.
There was a scene where you see it in a plane.
Oh, that was Fallen Kingdom.
No, in this one.
You don't see Rexy until...
No, there's a scene where you see Rexy in a cage. in a plane. They're unloading her.
I did not see this scene. I can guarantee I've not seen that scene in this film. I know Rex was in a cage a lot in Fallen
There
Kingdom.
was one in this. She came out of a plane.
Interesting.
She was in a cargo bin.
Interesting.
But they cut out the scene of them catching Rexy, which you saw in that, like, the... Remember when YouTube released that first 5 minutes?
There was an incredible amount of reshoots in this film.
Yeah.
There are so many things in trailers that are nowhere to be seen, including the first 5 minutes of the film. Completely changed.
Because I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this full-on Rexy scene. Where is
Nope,
it?
not at all.
It's gone.
The drive-in scene, gone. Like, there was obviously heavy reshoots done in this film. Did it make a better movie?
Who knows?
We'll never know. Or maybe there'll be an extended edition someday and we will know.
Hey. They've been trafficked. They're getting chased.
Yeah.
Let's...
Havoc. Lots of havoc.
Lots of fun.
Scooter guy.
Scooter guy got eaten. I was disappointed.
That was in the trailer. You knew he got eaten.
I thought he might have been in it before.
Really?
I wanted this guy to be a hero.
You...
And his demise, he would have been riding his scooter out to try to divert the raptors off of him, and then just...
Are you joking or did you actually...
I'm serious. I wanted this man to be a hero. I was like, this guy is an absolute giant. He's riding a scooter in between two giant, like, big teeth dinosaurs. Like, there's gotta be a reason for it.
No, he was just out for the day and
Man was
never went
just
home.
living life. That is so sad.
Well, alright.
But also, the fight scene in the black market when the dinosaurs got it, that was pretty good.
That was pretty cool.
And watching Owen and the dude fighting, and then you look in the background and you see the Allosaur with the flaming guy, and he's wiggling them around.
Yeah. So, they find out that that Maisie and Beta, they find out from Delacour right before he dies, that they are being transported to Biosyn's headquarters in Italy's Dolomite mountain range. And Kayla Watts, who's delivering those live cargoes for market vendors and has access to Biosyn HQ, saves Claire, and Owen has an epic bike moment up onto the cargo plane. Owen and his bikes, man. Another reason why Fallen Kingdom doesn't work. Owen doesn't get on his bike.
Back
with the OGs, where the stronger plot is occurring. Less action, but stronger plot. Alan and Ellie arrive to the headquarters, where they're secretly there to investigate the locust problem. And I absolutely love how they handled Malcolm, is he comes off as, like, super out of it, like he's high almost, and then the reveal that he's just been putting on that persona the entire time at Biosyn to get access. Brilliant. I was like, is this really what they're doing with Malcolm in this film? I was like, oh, I like that. Which is why I felt like it was a mix of the two Malcolms. It was like, that was good.
And also, we've been introduced to, what's his face? A new character.
Ramsay Cole?
Yep.
Yeah, we're about to talk about him. He meets Alan and Ellie on the plane.
Yeah. And I like before they meet Malcolm and they run into Dodson. And that first interaction
where he like loses his thoughts and walks away. Yeah.
And everyone's like,
it looks so awkward.
And Grant goes, that was
weird. Yeah. So, Ramsay Cole, well, that's that. So Ramsay Cole is giving Grant and Sattler a tour of the facility as Malcolm covertly passes, by making Grant argue with a barista and sneaks the access code to Dr. Sattler.
I loved listening to that because he actually seemed annoying.
Alan Grant is that way, which is what makes him work so well.
I think he just started going at it, and then they were like, oh, he's really going at it. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Malcolm set it up on purpose. Maybe. I could see him knowing that, okay, Grant, he's gonna get mad at this.
And also when they first introduced Malcolm, and they're like, so when did you two start? Well, he slid into my DMs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm laughing my head off at that, and my mom's like, huh?
That generation. That's why it's funny, is it's that generation
know.
making that joke. um. So, um, they also find out with Maisie that Henry Wu has joined Biosin, and that he has bred and genetically modified the locust to consume rival crops, allowing Dodgson's scheme to make his company control the food industry. And Wu tells Maisie that she is Charlotte Lockwood's cloned daughter. Charlotte, who was Wu's colleague on Site B, wanted a child and used her own DNA to create Maisie. Charlotte died from a genetic disease, but she had altered Maisie's DNA, making her immune. Did they not say that Charlotte died in a car accident in Fallen Kingdom?
They did.
I don't have a huge problem with it because a cover-up is fine. It's just, I just wanted to make sure I was remembering that correctly.
Because you see her still in the Lockwood
Mm-hmm.
thing. I don't know why. I think the cover-up story was meant only for Maisie.
Like a
And you were
cover-up.
led to believe that.
A cover-up is fine. I'm not going to complain, but I just want to make sure I was remembering that right.
Because from everyone else's perspective, they didn't really... No one spoke about it with any of them. The only characters that's brought up how she died was with Maisie.
True. True point. Wu believes that both Maisie's and Blue's DNA or Beta's, are key to creating a pathogen that can halt the locust outbreak. So they do make it clear that Dodgson wasn't planning on destroying the world's food economy. The locusts were just out of control.
But then, he doesn't
go about fixing it the right way because he's the villain. But they do make it clear that his plan wasn't to doom humanity. I like how the one CIA agent, they're killing the food that our food eats. Say goodbye to this. He's holding a burger. So, now our plots begin to come together with Ellie and Alan. Ramsay awkwardly leaves them alone for 30 minutes, which at first I was upset about because I thought it was like the dumbest person in this film.
Yeah.
And they go and they get a sample of the locust, and they help Maisie escape. Where
there's that intense scene with the locusts.
Yes.
Where the locusts wake up and start attacking them. Like,
yeah, and Maisie lets them out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't sure if they'd actually killing them off because with the reshoots they did. Because as soon as that first 5 minutes was not the same, I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen in this movie.
I have a very strong opinion about that. And again, once we get done the plot, I will express my thoughts if I remember them all. But basically, without going into it yet, I didn't expect any of the OG to die, and I'll explain why. And they learn that Ramsay Cole is in fact working against Biosin. He's the one who told Malcolm where to look, and he is a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
You don't find that out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
It might be slightly out of order, but it's at that point where we'll mention it. Now, upon reaching Biosin airspace and Kayla's cargo plane, a group of... So I've said this dinosaur wrong all my life. Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus. The Quetzalcoatlus attacks Kayla's cargo plane. Claire ejects with a heartbreaking "I love you and I'm gonna find you" scene. While Owen and Kayla crash land and they survive the landing. But introduce one of the greatest scenes in the franchise. Claire, hanging from a tree, sees a deer grazing on grass. And then a massive blind dinosaur walks forth.
Is it blind?
It is blind. It's the only, like, the grayed out eyes and how
I wasn't sure.
I wasn't either, so I got the opinion of my party, and we all came to the conclusion that it has to be blind. Whether or not it's a specimen or species trait, we don't know.
I don't think it's a species trait.
I think it'd be cool if it was, but I doubt it.
I don't think it is.
So, and then Theriznosaur. So much bigger than I ever expected it to be. Like, holy crap. It was huge.
Playing Ark, those things suck.
Well, they are strong.
They're so terrifying.
Oh, suck in that way. But they're small. Like, they're bigger than you, but they're not that big.
But
I
here's
can't
the-
wait for a modded Theriznosaur.
Please.
I'm
That'd be
in.
terrifying.
But Ark apparently nailed its temperament. Super territorial. It walks up to the deer and just bashes it away. Like, get out of here,
And
bot.
you're like, woo!
And so Claire, cue a scoreless, high-pressure scene of Claire trying to evade this blind but super sensitive hearing, super aggressive, giant Theriznosaur with huge claws. If you don't know what a Theriznosaur is, feathered herbivore, giant claws on its hands, super territorial. I don't know who decided they were territorial, because obviously nobody actually knows that, but it just carried over to Jurassic Park, so...
They suck. So they always cause the biggest problem for my dinos in Ark. They're always the ones that kill them. So seeing how they were in this movie, I was like,
So he chases Claire very slowly as Claire's trying to make as few noise as possible, and there's like a super intense moment for hiding under the water, which has another one of my favorite shots when it's its beak right above her head with only the water
and
separated.
you're like,
I love that shot though so much. Incredible scene. Meanwhile, Kayla and Owen have a little bonding period, and then are engaged by a Pyroraptor on a frozen lake. And the Pyroraptor can swim. So it breaks the ice and chases them. And I love when they get free of it, Owen's like, that guy was a dick. That was a great line.
and I keep forgetting the two new people's names. Who's the girl?
Kayla.
Kayla. When they get onto the bridge to run towards the elevator, she screams, "No!"
Yeah.
I was
No!
like, that's the most human reaction.
Yeah, no kidding. And the three do eventually get to regroup with the Dilophosaur.
Yeah.
The Dilophosaurs ambush Claire. Super intense scene as well. This movie does get to be scary. And then Owen comes in and chokeholds the
They
Dilophosaur.
did go with the Dilophosaurus.
Yeah, it was.
They were.
So Crinchy sent me an article that the Dilophosaur is the first genetically modified dinosaur in the Jurassic Park franchise. And it's hard to argue because in the fossil record, Dilophosaurs are a lot bigger than the Jurassic Park version of the thing. Like, we're talking 20 feet long and a lot taller.
My goodness.
So, like 8 feet tall, 20 feet long. So it's hard to argue with that assessment. Like, sure, they didn't make a big deal of it, but I guess.
Yeah.
They also couldn't do the...
Really? I knew they could do the spit.
No, not actually.
Really?
They were more like big hunters. 8 feet tall, 20 feet long. They don't need poison.
It's pretty reasonable.
Because, like, how are you going to know it spits poison from a fossil? There's no way to know that.
Unless.
It's a cool trick, though, for sure. The Dilophosaurs are pretty iconic in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It's weird that we hadn't seen one since, because it was a pretty iconic part of the first film.
Oh, yeah.
They're handled excellently in this film.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
That's it.
Dodgson. Is it Dodgson?
That's it. He figures out.
That Ellie and Grant were being helped by Malcolm.
Yeah.
And
fires Malcolm.
Fires Malcolm and has Ramsay escort his stuff and get him out. This is the part that I wish was explained better. But actually, it's too early to talk about it. I'll talk about it in a minute. Because it is just slightly too early to talk about my complaint with Ramsay. It's a minor one. I do like Ramsay. But it is a complaint with his writing. So knowing that the evidence is out there... Oh, first off, they trap Grant, Ellie, and Maisie in the caves, the Amber Mines, which are home to at least 6 Dimetrodons.
You know what I thought was at first?
Spinosaur.
Spino.
Me too.
I just saw him like,
I got excited, and then no.
They were still. That was
The Dimetrodons are pretty dope. And it's like one of the OG dinosaurs. Like, we're talking late Triassic period. One
like,
of the
these
first
are dinosaurs I
dinosaurs.
have a toy of, and like
Yeah.
everyone's seen it.
It's like the first in the fossil record legitimate dinosaur.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been in Jurassic Park yet. And they use it for horror jump scares. And it's so nice that Jurassic movies can be scary again. Because it started falling in 2, took a huge hit in 3. 4 was okay for it, 5 not so much. These were more action films, not as scary.
This one was like...
This one had some good frights. which is great.
No complaints.
So Ramsay helps Malcolm get a jeep to go save the Grant, Ellie, and Maisie trio, while Dodgson, realizing that the evidence is out there, ignites the Locust laboratory to destroy the evidence. The Locusts, not wanting to burn, break out of the glass and start burning the entire Biosyn compound.
What a turn of events.
Dodgson has a hilarious man tantrum, which I love.
Like,
well, no, when he goes like, and then starts punching a chair. I love it.
And everyone's watching like,
evacuation order. That was the moment where I decided his performance was brilliant. Was the man tantrum. You can't see what I just did, but when you see the movie, you will understand. So
if you haven't, why are you in the spoiler warning?
yeah, exactly. So some people like to know the spoilers first if they're going to see the movie, but why they would come to our podcast for it, I don't know. Appreciate you
Darnell.
if you do. Darnell. Bold of you to assume he watches this. He does watch all my streams. Bold of you to assume he watches. By the way, we stream at the Gmod Squad Presents on Twitch on Tuesdays and Sundays. We're also trying to reach 100 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the month. Check out the Gmod Squad for gaming content. Please. I'm begging you.
This is really desperate.
We're 4 away.
We're talking about Jurassic World.
I gotta plug my stuff.
Maybe we should have dinosaurs eat us for content.
There we go. There's a video. So Ian helps Alan, Ellie, and Maisie escape, but it's really Ramsay who unlocks the door because Ramsay's just a good guy.
And did Grant lose his hat there?
Now you grabbed it again.
Because you never see him wear it again until the end of the movie.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't grab it and he just had a different hat. He tried to grab, but like I said, driving. It's hard to tell.
Even I kind of missed it because it was really dark.
Mm-hmm.
Even in like a dark movie theater, it's hard to see some of it. It's like, oh,
it was played up for scares.
Yeah.
You know what we did forget to talk about?
What?
The Giganotosaurus. The Giganotosaurus is the apex predator of Biosyn compound. It is the largest land carnivore ever known to exist.
Did I say that about the Spino?
At the time, Giganotosaurus wasn't real. That's a pretty recent discovery.
Yeah.
It was like not real when they put it into Ark, and since then they have found, like, and dubbed a new skeleton.
They're like, oh, it's actually real.
Well, they were like, you know what that could be? That fictional Giganotosaurus? It's huge. Let's call it that. So now it's a real thing.
It was really cool in this movie.
Not in it much. I expected more of an Indominus presence.
I'm kind of glad it didn't, though.
Yeah.
They referenced it, and I think the problem was when you watch the first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes, the Giganotosaurus kills the T-Rex.
Yeah.
And I think what they were realizing what they were doing was another spinal incident.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I wish it was in it more, but so the Giganotosaurus engages with Rexy from Nublar, of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, in a roaring contest, and Rexy backs down because there's a new alpha in town, the Giganotosaurus.
Well, they got a little bit snippy.
Yeah, they had like a brief exchange. And then that's the last time we'll see him for a bit. As people are evacuating the Biosyn facility because the dinosaurs are being called in to avoid the flames, which means they're all coming into the facility. It's compound, the interior, all sorts of places. Dodgson has a plan with Ramsay to start again. Money is cheap, he says. But this is the part that I'm going to complain about. Up until this point, it is never made clear. Like, I know I said Ramsay's a communications officer. His job is never made clear. To the point that it seems like Ramsay is like a low-level tour guide. The fact that he matters so much to Dodgson is fine for the plot. I wish they explained that, because it really didn't seem like he mattered to Dodgson at all.
No.
It would be like your minimum wage employee.
They were like, he's gonna be the next Dawson. Like, he's a younger version.
I didn't even see that.
That was when Malcolm and them first, when Grant and them first meet Dodgson. Dodgson says that.
Yeah, he says he's a smart guy, he's gonna replace you, but to me it felt like the CEO patting the back of the minimum wage worker is what it seemed
Yeah.
like to me.
I wasn't sure.
I wish his importance was made more clear, because he very much was. That's my big complaint about how he was written. It's not his fault. It's just I wish that were more explained.
Yeah.
But Ramsay reveals that, nah, I did all this because you're a fool. Now, bye.
Yeah.
And Dodgson grabs a Barbasol shaving can with embryos inside. I wonder how he got that.
I was wondering how I got that too.
Camp Cretaceous.
Really?
They found it. So I assume that's going to have something to do
When
with the
did
new
they find
season.
it?
Before they left Nublar. So I assume that's going to have something to do with the new season. Because somehow he got it.
Yeah.
Now, it could just be the same one, because obviously he has those around, because he gave the
I
first
think
one to
it'd be more
Nedry.
interesting if it
I hope it's the same one. And that's how Biosyn caught up. I think that would be great. But we'll see. We'll have to see. So then the Giganotosaurus terrorizes the freed group, who reunite and then unite with Owen and Claire and Kayla, and we have a massive group of people running away from the Giga. And the Giga is really well executed.
Yeah.
Very scary. I love when Ian holds up the torch. And it's like, at first I was like, if there was ever a moment to kill him off, it'd be right now. If he still hasn't
I was thinking
learned.
they were about to kill him. I was like,
But then he learned his lesson about holding onto the light for too long and throws it down his throat. And then for like 2 seconds, we have fire breathing Giga.
I was like, did he just turn into a fire breathing Giga? And then it started like,
Oh boy!
a whole other problem. I was in the back.
Climbing the
That's for
tower.
Fire breathing. At the end of the movie.
Climbing a tower for an outpost. There's a huge confrontation with the Giga where they fire everything they've got at it. I really liked how I now understand. So the director said a comment before the film that really concerned me, where he said that they wanted the dinosaur villain, the Giga, to be like the Joker, and I was like, what the heck does that mean? But I get it now. He's taking damage, getting hurt, and he just doesn't care. He just keeps going.
Yeah.
I get it now, but at the time I was like, what the heck does that mean? I am worried about this.
Let's put a smile on that face.
I know, it's like, what does that mean? Like when the Indoraptor smiled at Wheatley. You can't tell me that wasn't a smile. I hate that. Anyway. Because you know what a smile is, right? To the animal kingdom.
I can't smile.
If you're baring your teeth at an animal, that's danger. That's I'm gonna bite you. And he's just like, ah, yes, he's falling for my trap. It's like, ah. Anyway, so eventually the Giga gets hit too many times and backs off for a moment, and the groups have their plan that they have to do. They have
tased it in the eyeball.
Yes.
That's why it backed off.
Yes.
Even when they tased, even I squirmed. I was like, oh.
And it just didn't really care. It just kind of walked away, just like, all
It's
right,
kinda like, ah,
I'll be back. See you later.
chumps.
Yeah, exactly. Losers. So he backs off for a bit, and they have their plan. They have to have 2 teams, because Owen won't leave without Beta, and Grant is the expert, and Maisie has the relationship with Beta, so they go to get Beta, while Claire and Ellie go to turn on the ADS.
No, they're turning. To turn it on, they had to shut down all of the other power.
Yeah, so they could power the ADS so they could fly out
Yeah.
in the helicopter, which is why Kayla actually matters to the plot. She is a pilot, and she's a good character, but it's nice that she mattered. DJ. So, with the plans in motion, there's a really cool scene of Alan trying to calm Blue with the same method, and it goes to attack him, and Beta, yes. And Owen just zaps, tranks
I think the funniest
Beta.
part was when they first walk in, and Grant's going on about how they come from the
sides.
and how they got the stomach and everything.
We used to think this, but actually, they're too
And they're
clever.
like,
thank you.
thanks. That's real.
And then Ellie and Claire fight off some locusts, which has an awesome moment of Claire wielding a fire axe at the locusts, and Ellie just full blown like
Tasing them.
yeah, like a ninja, just like it was amazing. And then Ellie takes the axe and destroys the power restart so that the ADS can be fully powered. The groups meet up and race out into the compound only to be confronted by...
You forgot. So with the power going off,
Oh yeah,
Dawson
Dodgson
was
was...
escaping on a train.
He was trying to escape via underground monorail, and when they shut off the power, the monorail stops. So Dodgson begins his long walk down the tunnel, only to hear, for Jurassic Park fans, a familiar little chirping sound, as Dilophosaurs, 3, I think it was, total, surround and kill him.
This scene was so intense because I kept getting spooked by the
The
side pop.
theme.
I'm like, oh, it's nothing.
But this was the most poetic death in the franchise, because the man who caused Jurassic Park, the events of it to happen, was Dodgson, hiring Nedry to do the job, who died by crashing his Jeep, getting stranded, and a Dilophosaurus killing him with a Barbasol can. Dodgson's vehicle stops, gets killed by a Dilophosaurus with a Barbasol can in his hand. It was poetic. Both Dodgson and Nedry going out the same way. It was poetic. I loved it. Racing out into the compound. The Giganotosaurus arrives. And the Rex arrives through the circle. Well, briefly, so you get the logo shape. And they fight. And it's a pretty good fight. Pretty short, though.
Yeah. But it was still, like, because it...
They take Henry Wu. Henry Wu is redeemed. Which is what I kind of have a problem with. I don't mind that he was redeemed. It just didn't feel earned. They should have done more work to get that redemption earned.
Camp Cretaceous.
Camp Cretaceous is where I hope we get something, because for that arc to end that way and the way it did, he needed to have the start of it happen in Fallen Kingdom, and he was barely in Fallen Kingdom. So they take Wu with him, who gets injured during this event.
Because the Giga and the Rex were fighting, and the Giga knocked the Rex over onto the thing, which crushed him, which hurt his arm.
Yes, so Wu got injured during this event.
And you think the Rex is dead.
Rexy finally died. Yep. And there was outcry in the street, says it was lying there. But then...
I was quite upset.
The Theriznosaur arrives.
And you're like...
And the Theriznosaur is just hearing the Giga, and super territorial, is like, come at me, Thought! And the Giga's like, I will! And the Giga rushes the Theory, and they fight, and the Theory's like, holding his own, despite not seeing where the Giga's coming from, the Giga being an alpha predator. The Theory's just like, beep, get away from me!
Soft!
I ain't about this! He can't see anything, so it's all ghosts anyway. He ain't about this life.
So, hey, it's not ghost.
Exactly. And then the eye of Rexy cracks open because Rexy's now a goddamn superhero.
Rexy ain't dead yet.
Rexy ain't never gonna die. This is like canonically the 5th time Rexy's almost died. Because after the first Jurassic Park, it was announced from like some writer that after the events of Jurassic Park, they bombed Isla Nublar, killing all the dinosaurs. That was before a sequel was greenlit, and it's like, makes sense. And then it's like, well, no, there's a sequel coming, so that didn't happen. But they never address Isla Nublar right away in the sequel, because they don't know if that's still canon or not.
They never even in 3, they didn't address it.
Because it was still believed at that time that everything there was dead. Then Jurassic World's like, whoop-oh, nothing happened. And then Rexy gets the snot beat out of her then, and pretty much almost dies against Indom. And then it happens again with the lava, which she definitely couldn't have survived, but she managed to anyway in Fallen Kingdom. And then she got the cyanide poisoning, and then we got this movie, and I do love Rexy.
I have no problem with this, to be honest.
I can't wait for the next Avengers film to introduce Rexy, because she is a goddamn superhero now.
If they ever introduce Captain America back in, have him
Riding Rexy while wielding Mjolnir.
With the shield.
And the Wakandan shield as well. Like, both his classic shield, the Wakandan shield, the wing helmet.
Yeah.
The wing helmet. Riding Rexy. Calling down lightning. The cloak of levitation. With an Iron Man armor chest plate. And freaking the Flash's boots or something, I don't know. The wildest crossover yet. If anyone actually listens this far in, I hope you're enjoying it. We're having fun.
The Rexy wakes up.
Rexy wakes up!
And the 3 of them have a standoff.
which ends in the best hilarious way possible. The Giga goes from biting the Theory to Rexy, and Rexy goes beep, bites him by the neck and tosses him into the Theory's claws. The Theory's blind. Theory's blind. I'm just standing here. Oh, what the? Oh, it's disgusting. Oh, it's a body. Oh.
Something on his console. The man's like
right through the neck and stomach, and the Giga is dead.
That's a pretty.
That's a
way to go.
and
Rexy was like, I'm gonna leave now.
Rexy the Theory. So Rexy's like, and Theory's like, what's going on? I can't say anything. And the Rex is like, okay, goodbye, and just walks away quietly.
I did my business.
And there was like no sound of the footsteps either. She's just like, I'm gone now. It's Super Ninja T-Rex climbing the wall in Jurassic Park 1.
She gets her powers.
She just sneaks away. I probably woke somebody up upstairs. It's now 10:48 at night.
So anyways,
Is there an anyways? Oh yes,
they get out.
Wu believes he can fix the locust infestation, and the humans escape in a Bison aircraft. Back on the mainland, Wu releases a modified locust that carries a pathogen he discovered while studying Maisie and Beta's DNA, successfully eradicating the locust outbreak. Except here's the thing about that. He didn't learn anything from Maisie's DNA, because Maisie left before he could. He fixed the problem with Beta's DNA, which is why I say Maisie didn't even need to be in this movie, because he just needed Beta.
No, Beta and Maisie were together.
No, Maisie escaped before he could take any samples. He only got samples from Beta.
But she said she was willing to.
Yeah, but she escapes before he does anything.
No, that's afterwards, remember? Because when
Wu
introduces himself, she's like, I support it.
Yeah, she said she's willing, and then he gets called to Dawson while she's watching the video.
No. This is when she's with everyone. And then Wu shows up, and they're like, I know you. And she's like, I'm willing to, he's a good guy.
I must have missed that.
She was part of the reason why they still took Wu.
Oh, I must have missed that. And Grant, I remember you to Wu. It's like that random background character all of a sudden becomes a leading role. I remember you. Ellie and Alan renew their relationship, which was beautiful, as they prepare to testify against Bison with Ian and Ramsay. Owen, Claire, and Maisie return home where Beta is reunited with Blue. Around the world, dinosaurs adapt to coexist with modern animals, while InGen's Tyrannosaurus, Rexy, encounters two T-Rexes from Isla Sorna, Mama and Daddy. Because baby was killed by the Spinosaurus. F you, Spinosaurus.
Screw you, Spino. No one likes you.
And that is the whole story.
Wait. There's still that.
That is not the whole story.
The heart-wrenching scene at the end with Blue and Owen, where they look at each other as the final goodbye.
Mm.
That was a heartwarming, gut-wrenching. I was sad at that.
So some things to mention. What was I gonna complain about? Do you remember? I don't remember. There was something that I said briefly that I had a problem with. Right. The creators of Dominion agree with me that Fallen Kingdom shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So I said the stupidest decision in the entire franchise, one of the stupidest in the entire history of movies, was Maisie opening the door to let dinosaurs out in the real world, because it just doesn't work as a movie.
Yeah.
Clearly, the writers agree with me, because they only deal with that in the mainland for like the first hour. And then they immediately go back to an island setting with Bison headquarters. Like, it's not exactly an island, but it's an isolated, forested area, because that's the only way these movies work. At the end of the day, I'm right. And if you disagree, you're wrong. Like, it doesn't work.
I really like the opening scene, because you see that scene of the Quetzals in the World Trade Center nesting, and just the size. I was like, give me some of this in New York City, come on. And when I see the Empire State Building get charged at by a T-Rex.
Now we kind of rang the movie out a bit. But let's talk about our favorite least favorite scene and then get to what we actually thought about it. So what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene. It's probably that final confrontation between the three dinos and Rexy and the Giga.
It was too short for me to say it was my favorite. It was good, but for me it was too short.
I don't want to, because everyone's going to say the theories.
That's mine.
I would say it is, but I'm like, it's a little different.
Yeah, Claire interacted with the Rhesusaur for the first time. It was scary. I loved it.
Actually, the bike scene and the car scene where they're getting chased by
And the Atrociraptor.
yeah, that was pretty good.
My least favorite scene was where Claire, Webb, and Rodriguez steal the baby trike. The scene really served no purpose to the film other than to get those two characters into the film. They could have easily just had Webb. He's working with the CIA now. We know that. We can call him. It just padded onto the runtime
You know what
unnecessarily.
I'm upset about is they didn't have what's his face in it from Jurassic World.
His picture was in
There's
it.
his picture.
He was working for an intelligence agency.
Maybe he'll show up.
No. Also, the girl Vivian they were both in the intelligence
That's
agents.
hilarious.
I wonder if they're working together.
And she's like, oh,
It's
right.
you,
Hey.
Peter B. Parker. What was your least favorite scene?
I think my least favorite. Oh, it's probably that opening scene.
It's just unnecessary.
I'm so confused.
So, you can see my script, so you know what I said, so I'll go first.
Yeah.
My overall rating for Jurassic World Dominion, don't believe the critics. This is an 86 overall film. That is higher than Jurassic World. While this may only be my third favorite franchise, or third favorite film in the franchise, I do believe it is the second best movie. Nothing's going to come close to JP1. Even if they keep going, never. Nothing's ever going to come close to JP1. This was good.
Yeah.
I think it proved that you need more than dinosaurs, bigger and better, to sell your film. You need the emotional heart that they built up with the three OGs and Owen and Claire.
And
That's what you
also,
need.
You don't need to go big and scary. You just need to go scared.
True. The Dimetrodons are pretty small.
There.
I think The Lost World has really gone up in my ratings since since reviewing it in general. It's like the more I think about it, Roland Tempo carries that film so hard.
I give the movie a solid 80.
Lower than me. I thought it'd be higher.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, but I see the problems in it.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. That is the review of Jurassic World Dominion. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun with this one. This was wild. Maybe we'll do some more that are more fun. That'll get us noticed if we just go more into it. This is good time for us. So what's next for us on the Great Movie Ride podcast? Well, we just did a bunch of classic films, and now we're going to stick with the new ones. With coming up next,
Lightyear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where we get to see the rematch of Captain America and Thanos. Dead serious, Josh Brolin's voicing Zurg.
Oh my.
It's gonna be amazing. It's like incredible.
Now I'm really down to see.
I know, we got Chris Evans as Buzz and Josh Brolin as Zurg. It's perfect.
And after that,
Thor, Love and Thunder.
I have no idea.
Go on.
Oh my god.
Probably. We'll get a more precise.
Moana will turn into that movie we always hint at, but we'll never do.
We always say next time, but next time never arrives. So that is our podcast as I type Lightyear into the index because we definitely were prepared to record that part of it. I've been Gaston.
I've been Jerryofdom.
And Rexy, will see you next time.
Cyber Ninja Dinosaur Flipper.
I don't know why I said Rexy will see you next time, but because this is probably the last time we're going to see Rexy. This does feel like an ending.
Yeah.
It really does.
Mission. Ninja.
Super. Well, I'll just wait for the next Avengers film and she'll be there.
We should petition
Rexy for the next Avengers film.
Super Smash Bros. Game.
There we go. Rexy stomps in.
Let's go.
Da, 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 da. That's Brawl.
No, they should do a Jurassic Park Smash Bros. Game.
Or like Godzilla Saves the Earth, but just Jurassic Park dinos.
Alright.
They should also do full Lego Jurassic Park with all of the movies. I always hate it when they did Lego Force Awakens. It's like, just wait till the trilogy's over. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you
See you
next,
guys next time.
We'll see you in the movies.
We'll see you in the
Goodbye,
movies,
everybody.
guys. Have a good night. Or day.
Or whenever.